Hey, welcome to the weekly wrap-up.
The weekly wrap-up where we're a little bit jet-lagged, but we're doing all right.
I'm okay. You're a bit jet-lagged.
Yeah, I'm feeling it a bit, but otherwise, like you say, you're doing all right. How about the market? Is the market doing all right?
The market's very boring. So it was a good time to actually go away and, recover a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks everyone for joining us wherever you are tuning in from around the world today, on Twitter, X, even YouTube, and of course in Getting Started in Crypto, who have been sharing some questions, some chart requests. We will get to them shortly. But firstly, let's have a look at the wider market and Bitcoin.
Well, we can look at Bitcoin. It's done nothing for literally about 6 weeks. So, yeah, this is it. So we're sitting here. This is a very hard resistance in this region. So it's going to be quite difficult, I would say, to break. And it has been that so far. We can see that we've got quite a strong resistance here. We've got a little bit more to go. So it's around 74 that we get to that resistance, and I think we're going to get a hard rejection at that point. So we're either going to get a breakthrough, which is unlikely. Stranger things have happened though, because we do have a whole heap of shorts at the moment, and they're stacking up. So I've still got, sorry about my voice, I've still got a sore throat, and that's why I wasn't here last week. So excuse me. Yeah, so if we do reject, we're going to get the wave lower, which will probably hit around 56. So if we break through, we're going up to about 88. So, and this is a very, very key region. So for, sort of this, essentially the next part of this market. So I don't think the timing's quite there yet, though. I think we've got a little bit more, say, sideways, down, that sort of momentum to go. If we have a look at our 4-year cycle, this is where we kind of get to know where we are within that cycle. We can see that we had our low around 19th of November. 4 years later, we had our low with the FTX crash. So, Bitcoin works on a 4-year cycle predominantly, and we can sort of work out where we are in those patterns from where Bitcoin is at this moment. So when we go back on every 4-year cycle, we can put a pitchfork on there and we can assess where we are. So our median line, we went a little bit further this time. We hit this region sort of around January. So we were around that sort of region lower in January of the previous cycle. So we also had around sort of mid-June, we're sitting on that first wave. So our first wave here of this new cycle was sitting around the same region of June. So that tells me this is our first wave. We've gone into we've had a really shallow second wave. So rule of alternation means that if the second wave is shallow and quick, then the fourth wave is going to be extended and slow. And you can reverse that. So rule of alternation, if the second wave is extended and super boring, then also the fourth wave will be a lot quicker. So we're in a fourth wave now. That tells me that we've got, some more sideways to go. And when we look at this pattern here in this region, we can see that our yellow region where we broke out of the pitchfork was around December 20. So 4 years on, that is around December, sort of end of year this year is when we're going to be starting to break out of that pitchfork. So we've got a little bit more to go. So unfortunately, we're probably going to see, sideways, we might get that upper sort of, region where we're hitting that sort of 88 mark and then coming back down. And essentially that would then become our wave 1 primary of 3. And then we'd pull back for that basically second wave of that pattern. So if this is our overall pattern, so first wave here, second wave, third wave, fourth wave currently, fifth wave up, and then a larger rejection. So down to that sort of 56 region before we do start having that mega run. So it may not happen that deep. We've got ETFs and, they're sort of unknown at this point. They're so new. It's a region that is very hard to trade for a lot of traders. Even for block order traders, it's not really hitting those kind of regions. So this key region at the moment for BTC is what we're going to be seeing. So we've got interest rates tomorrow, FOMC stuff. So we've just seen Canada last week decrease. They've had an interest rate drop. So whether that happens globally is unknown. But I do think they'll hold for the moment, at least in the USA. We're coming into an election. We're in an election year in the USA and in the UK. So that is going to be quite a sort of a pivotal sort of time for these, for obviously Trump trying to get back in. He wants, the market. He's trying to win over the crypto people. He's saying he's into crypto. So, it's essentially such a hard region at the moment where we're seeing a lot of sideways. So a lot of chop and dominance is increasing, but BTC has not increased as yet. So let me just find that chart. We've got a hard resistance at this point. So if we don't break through that, we'll see some alts do another run. At the moment, they're sort of sitting and we got a 4% drop on BTC. We've got a 10 to 15% drop on alts. And that's what happens across the board. BTC still rules the market. And that's why we look at it every day in GSIC and weekly here.
Okay, so with it being choppy and potentially coming back down for a wave, it's not exactly enticing, especially for retail and for the majority of them to get back in. Do you think that's going to be a concern with the volume of people in the market, or not so much?
No, I don't think, judging on sort of, this is an election year, and judging on how the market works, where if Donald Trump gets in and, he's crypto friendly, and that's going to see the market kind of move. These elections aren't until the last half of the year and towards the end of the year. So, that is in line with that 4-year cycle for Bitcoin and, that December sort of breaking through that, pitchfork that I showed you in the previous chart. So if we just go back to the chart, so, this breakthrough here in around December of 2020. So 4 years later, that's December 2024. We've got elections. We've got a lot of unknown stuff happening at the moment, ETFs. So while this is going to stay sort of in this region and kind of sideways, that's the best case scenario for ETFs, for them sort of staying stable and, to not scare those investors away, but also to bring retail in. There's going to be, needed the big sort of pumps that we saw within the last 2 runs, essentially, from, 2017 to 2018, and going up, 2016 to 2017, and that sort of run. So we're going into that, but I don't think the major run is not going to be until the later half of this year.
Okay, no problem. would you like to take a look at anything else Ethereum before we jump into alts?
Yeah, Ethereum's got quite an interesting. So when we push this up, this is a 2-weekly chart, and the stock is crossing. So this looks like Ethereum's going to get a bit of a bounce. Ethereum has a hard resistance at about 4.5 grand. So it hasn't really done anything super exciting since we've had the ETFs. So Bitcoin had a bit of a pump once we got that momentum happening. So I do think that's going to happen for Ethereum. That could be soon. You know, that's quite a nice bounce for Ethereum if we get from around this region to here. It's about 25 to 30%. So, you know, for a margin trader, that's massive. So it does look like that is imminent with this cross happening on the stock.
Okay, nice. Anything else you'd like to? We've got a couple more requests coming through live on YouTube and from the group here, and I know you've got some alts lined up, but just before we go there, anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much it. So it's, you know, fairly quiet with Bitcoin. It's just a waiting time, you know, stacking sats, as they say, and getting in the best positions. So, you know, I've seen a couple of big influencers saying that you need to be 70% in Bitcoin, which I totally disagree with. I don't think the money's there. So if you want to make money, you've got to be in alts and maximum sort of 20-25% in Bitcoin, 20-25% in Ethereum. That's kind of 40 to 50% of your bags. Spread the rest through the alts. Only ever trade actively with about 20% of that. So you don't want to be trading with your whole entire bags, because if something goes completely wrong when you're trading, you'll lose it all.
Okay, no problem. Right, I'll let you get set up for alts, and we will see you very, very shortly. Right.
And we are back.
We are back.
Yeah, so first one is a front, which was a request from our group, I believe, from GC.
Oh, yep.
So it does look like it is just about to move. So this is the 4-hour chart. Looks like we're going to get a little bit of a bounce. Our next pivot on this is 157. So I do think we're seeing a bounce soonish within the market, but I don't think it's a really huge one. I think it's just to complete that wave 4 and to reset these indicators, because a lot of the RSIs are very, very oversold. Now, if this does have one more wave down, it should hold the bottom at 1.01-ish. That is the wave 1 high. It hasn't completed this 5th wave yet. So whether that's complete or whether we're doing a complex correction here is it's a little bit hard, this pattern, to sort of gauge. But it does, to me, look like it's got potentially one wave up and then another wave down. It's missing some waves here. So that is what I would think for front. We then had BNB. So 2 weeks ago when we had the wrap up, I spoke about BNB, I spoke about BitGet, and I spoke about OKB. So OKB didn't do a lot. BGT did about 30%, and I think BNB did about 30%. So where are they sitting now? So BNB needs to come back and retest the sort of breakout region. So what happens is it's like a little child sort of going and testing the waters. They run away and it's looking around, is mommy still there? So think of that as your sort of resistance and supports. When it breaks out of a resistance, it normally comes back to retest then it still has the, you know, support of the traders sitting there that they're waiting and want to buy this coin. So if it continues down lower, then that's when we start to get sort of, you know, a bit concerned that the patterns are changing. So ideally we want BNB to hold around 615-ish. And we've got DGB, which didn't like my signal. It came up to target 2 and has then come back down. We have broken the bottom, and it looks like there's not enough waves in there. So if we do get a bounce within this pattern, so we could have, let me grab my waves and see where we are. So overall, we look to have potentially, not that one. Let me get that one off. Really ugly kind of WXY pattern happening here. So when we have a look at this, we've got 1, 2, 3, maybe almost like a very, very truncated 5. So if this is a complete, we should see a reversal. DGB has been very, very oversold for quite a while on a lot of patterns. So we can see that on this 4-hour chart here on the RSI, it's sitting down the bottom. So usually when it does sit down the bottom, we saw it sit down the bottom in this region on the W, and we got quite a nice like movement on that. So that is what it is doing at the moment. So, you know, that one got a 50% movement. If we got a 50% movement here, we're still under that resistance. So I do think if this is a WXY, then, you know, this is going to break this previous high. There's another pattern. So this can go into an extended wave, which would then be a W and X, a Y, an X, and a Z wave. So, you know, if we don't break that previous high, then that's potentially what can happen. This does look like it's almost complete though. So, yeah, it's not looking too bad at the moment.
Okay, I think that's what you've got lined up. We've got a few coming in the chat, and also a few more emails. ENS, one of the requests, and then I will mark a few from the chat. See what we can do there.
It's always good when you open it up and it's above. So let's take some of this stuff off. All right. We can see that this wave has yet to break. So this is a pattern that many alts are in at the moment. So if we see this is our wave 1 high on this pattern. Now this could be an A, a B, and a C, a ABC wave, which then puts that into a larger corrective phase. So if that is the case, and this is still an ABC, that goes into a larger pattern ABC, which would then have one more wave down. So that would be an internal ABC. So Elliott wave works with lots of internal waves. And we can see that that's complete. Now, if this is an impulse, this correction is going to hold 17.4. So if it does hold that range, it's definitely worth taking a risk on that region. And then, you know, it's going to get that 5th wave. So when we have a look and we put some fibs on that at the moment, so take some of these waves off. So providing this is an impulse, then our fibs currently, it's sitting at about 0.5. So that's a nice region for a fourth wave. So a fourth wave will normally go to either 0.5 or the 618. We can see that around the 618 is where our wave one is holding. Now, in Elliott wave, unless it's a leading or an ending diagonal, those waves don't cross over. So, and we can see on this 4-hour chart, we're getting into oversold regions on the RSI. So we want to see that start to turn, and then we're going to see quite a nice bounce on these. So I would say, at least we're going to get the fourth wave starting to form in this. So if we hold the 0.5, normally we'll get some sort of triangle pattern, and that would look something like this. It would just sort of bounce up and down for a little bit, and till Bitcoin has done its thing and probably until the end of the year. Alts are going to bounce around in the fourth wave for a little bit longer, and most are in that sort of pattern at the moment. So provided this is an impulse, that's what this will look like. If it's corrective, it'll likely break down below that wave one.
Okay, should we take a couple from YouTube? We've got a few watching in tonight or today.
Yeah, I think I've got like about 2 left in my voice before it completely goes.
You're gonna make me pick 2. Okay, well, let's go for the first one from Mike for FET, F-E-T. And then I'll have to do a lucky dip because there are quite a few coming in there. And of course, any in GSIC, you'll always be able to jump in the live chat and request them there as well, as per usual.
I'm just going to remove all of this stuff. Now, there's a really cool pattern that I noticed on FET. I'm going to pull this up to the daily. So we can see Elliott wave-wise, we are holding pattern and looking good for the next run up. So, if we take this as being our wave one, which went up to 2021, and then coming back down, we held the low, as you can see here. So if we put another pivot on there, we held that low. So essentially, this is our next wave formation coming up. Now we want to hold anything coming down, we want to hold 1.22. So this region is really a perfect area to DCA into for the next run up. So if we take this as our wave one of our third wave as being complete, it's got some big things happening for the bull run. So provided that pivot stays intact, this is likely to go probably to about 13 to, where's my 1618, to about $24, $25. So, from these regions, provided it does, again, hold that pivot, we really need it to do that, then we are looking... That's about 2,000%. So that's a nice rise, isn't it?
2,000% is not bad at all, really. Let's have a look. I'm just looking at. I could shout a few out, and perhaps if there's one that you clock that you've been looking at already, and then it'll help everyone out.
Yeah, so, just with FET as well. So because that wave has currently pulled back a little bit below the 0.5, it's likely going down to that 618 to test that wave one high. So that is going to be a really good region to place some orders.
Okay. I'm going to do
cool. All right, last one, lucky last.
Right, you've got a choice of ADA, CAS, ONDO, TNSR, Jasmine, INJ, or Phil.
I'm going to grab Jasmine because I want to show some that pattern because it's been, it's a Chinese coin. It's really been moving at the moment. It is coming up to a level that has got some resistance. So when we look at resistance, we kind of look at, areas it has rejected before. So we're coming up to that. We'll go a little bit more in this. So if we're putting some fibs on there, then we want to see if that kind of matches with our regions and see if we've got some levels there. So that's our 1 wave, our 3 wave perfectly come up to the 0.9 region. It's dropped back to that 0.5 region again. And so we've got this resistance region comes up to the 1.86 by the looks of it. So, currently it's on the 1.618. That is usually a region that we get a strong rejection or we get a correction. That's happening at the moment. So provided this correction holds these lower levels, it does have 5 waves here though. So unless it gets a wave extension, it's going to come down. And we can see on RSIs, this is a daily RSI, we're quite sort of tight here on the RSI. And we're losing volume on the MACD. So both of these are lagging indicators, and they're really good to sort of notice when the volume is coming out of these coins. So we can see right here, obviously we're losing value. People are still holding, and people are still buying in, and that's why we're getting these spikes. But it's not breaking out at this point. So our volume is decreasing. So we can see in this region, we had decreasing volume, and we had a period where we went into a sideways correction and then a bit of a dip. So once it sort of flips and it turns sort of red on the MACD, that's when it's going to sort of go sideways for a little bit longer. At the moment, it's in this sort of period. We're seeing that sort of consolidation, but I do think it's going to see a larger dip. It could potentially have one more wave up. If Bitcoin does one more wave, Jasmine's going to do one more wave. But the majority of like these, especially meme coins, are looking very, very oversold. Overbought. Sorry.
I was going to say.
Wow. Overbought. So there's too many people buying them. So, they need, these RSIs need to cool off.
Okay, cool. All right. Like I say, any of those in GSIC who have some more charts, there's only a couple, but do pop them into the live chat. Otherwise, thanks, Lisa. Your voice has held out just. So
it has just held out.
Yeah, thanks for that wrap up. Thanks for everyone for joining. Hopefully some more entertainment this time next week with Bitcoin would be nice, especially if it's green, but we'll see. So any other last words, Lise?
Yeah, so if we do get a rate cut tomorrow, when the FOMC meet and, they follow in line with Canada and the rate cut there, then we're going to see a very, very green market. The reason, Bitcoin is predominantly going sideways is it's an election year. We need that election to finish. The DXY is being propped up at the moment. So that's essential for, US markets. So just be cautious in this region because it is very, very choppy.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for joining, and we will see you again
next week.
soon. Bye.
Yeah.